First of all, I just want to say thank you, God. This is my actually third attempt to try to make this video, but I'm glad I waited. Because for me, when I make these videos, it's a way to reinforce. It's for me. I don't know if at this point anybody's watching, but I do this because perhaps there's one individual watching who's a target individual, and if you're watching this, you've heard the same story over and over. And for me, is not only for me to tell the story of what's happening to me, of the rewiring, of the manipulations, but it also reinforce reality. So to negate and counter this brainwashing like tactics, the best thing to do is to reinforce reality. Because truly, not only I'm a target individual who deal with the synthetic telepathy, the V2K, that have pushed some individual to lose their mind and cause mass shooting, but they're trying to really reinforce this. And not even enforcing, try to brainwash me into identifying with this. Kind of textbook level of brainwashing. Repetitions, all kind of trickeries, try to like disorient me, distract me, and it's very, very systematic. And it's stupid at the same time. Like, it takes my brain to be really rewiring and just like infantile state. It's very childlike. And it's so illogical. But when you're a target individual who deal with synthetic telepathy, oh my gosh, you don't think like a normal person anymore. You think almost like a challenged individual mentally. I wonder maybe why the ecosystem consists of very childish like individual, and even the people you work with turn into children. When it's so obvious, I'm like, oh my gosh. They make it so obvious. The gaslighting is so obvious. The tactics are so obvious of what they want you to think like. And so you find yourself becoming a genius. Like the ultimate genius, but just thinking in a non-childish way. But the childish ways of pushing this stupidity is meant to gaslight me. So it's a gaslighting tactic. For me, it's been amazing how validating things are. What you're seeing in green here is a person that, what they do as they manipulate me, what they want me to think, is they are exposing me. That they're not manipulating my brain, but this is the exposure of who I really am. And via this technology, they've exposed me, and these experiences are just experiences that have been exposed, pulled out of my brain, exposed. Very childlike. It's very stupid, like, ways of making me think. But the thing is, it's the actual opposite that's being exposed that they're trying to negate. They're trying to erase something that will basically be a very indicator as who I am today as an adult. Because this is what was in my mind, this was my thoughts, this is the way this thing in green is what they've been trying to erase. Because what it reveals is kind of the opposite of what they wanted to present me as. Because what they do is, this program is not here trying to reveal who you are. What they try to do is to try to break you down psychologically. This is a technology that's being weaponized. They already know who you are. What they're studying is how to break you down and change you from who you are. But not only that, make you identify with this. It's clear. The goal, this is a weapon. We're going to attack his mind, torment him, torture him in a psychological way, and then make him internalize this. Like, oh, we know, we expose you. No. You're changing who I am. Then try to validate and make me subscribe to this manipulation. And then they try to gaslight you in the things that makes no sense. Gaslighting for me has been the most nonsensical thing, and sometimes they influence my thoughts to think in a certain way that has nothing to do with nothing. Currently, I'm employed, so they use this employment in the random things like, oh, you had a meeting this and that, you didn't put this here, you thought this document was supposed to be that, so you see, you approved it. You're wrong thinking that this document should have gone there, but all along it was right to be there. And the thing is, when they do this kind of gaslighting, most of the time, it's like they influence me to think this way. It's like they push you to think this way. Then they'll be like, oh, you see, you thought wrong about this document. Like, it's random. And when I say this, it's just, I'll give you an example of how they want me to be subscriptive of their manipulation by making me think that if you thought this was that, that's proof that this is true. It's very stupid. They do that all the time. It's like a way to try to put doubts. What they just did to stop that was actually, look, it was bad. That was actually bad because it was too orchestrated, too obvious that they were trying to set up something off, right? It was just too obvious. Like, let me give you an example. There was a meeting that happened today, but it was a shorter meeting, and usually they send like some like status information that you're supposed to fill up before the meeting, and then we go through the outline of that. That was not even sent. It was sent during the call, and there was not even access. It was such a messed up kind of thing that clearly showed that they were orchestrated this to go that way. So that was really not well done. It looks like they were just literally orchestrating for me to look like it was some kind of failure aspect of it, right? It was too obvious. And sometimes they do that to try to annoy me, agitate me. I was like, okay, well, when I know you try to do that to agitate me, it's not going to make me agitated because you're clearly doing that for that. Right? They truly, like when they try to make you angry, you don't get angry because you know they're putting effort to make you angry. So it's like, okay, you're just trying to agitate me. Matter of fact, I know how I'm going to make you angry. I'm just calmly just going to call that out. I'm going to be very passive-aggressive in ways that just make me look at you and it's like, hey, I know what you're trying to do. You failed. But this is the things they do to gaslight me. So, for example, they did this thing, and this meeting was like I was like, okay, why are we not first of all, why we're having this meeting today? Why such a short meeting? Why are we not having the full meeting that we usually have? And is that this meeting? And then, at the same time, my mind is kind of confused, right? So they play with my brain. I thought it was like this internal meeting, but it was not that. And I know they play with my brain. Either way, I was like, whatever, I'm waiting for the status thing. If they don't send it, I guess it's not going to be the typical meeting. Well, all along the meeting, the status thing wasn't even sent. It was saying, they just made it obvious. It was kind of orchestrated. And while that was happening, they were trying to make me think, oh, she sent this information for that. I was like, okay, this whole thing was kind of orchestrated that way. You made it too obvious. It then influenced my thoughts. But sometimes this is not even like that. Sometimes it's truly them just kind of make me think in a certain way to then prove me wrong. Today, this was quite the acrobacy of like trying to orchestrate something to negate what you're gonna see here. I'm currently employed by these people who, let's just say it makes sense that they will participate in that. If any industry will want to be involved in a program that use human subjects in this fashion with advanced level of technology that can damage your body psychologically and physically, it will be this industry. What they can get, the return on the investment there is clear. I can see why they would want to be involved in that. But they want to be involved in that with the maintenance of this psyop that they are some kind of justice seekers. And they're just investigating, and they're doing it for the little girls. For the girls. And so when they manipulate me to have these disgusting experiences, when I see little babies, little girls, they were like, oh, we mapped it. Remember, that's you. And they send this childlike people, like you see there, looking at their phone. They're not looking at their phone. They want me to look at them looking at their phone because they're just observing, they're mapping, they saw the mapping. The most disgusting part is like when they look at their phones like, oh my gosh, you're not, huh? And it's disgusting. It's disgusting. Because they think this is not obvious, that you're just trying to convince me that you're not doing this thing to me because you're looking at your own phone. By the way, they wanted me to say my phone because they tell me they're going to implant child porn, by the way. They keep validating themselves as the protectors of children. Nasty low life. In my brain now, they try to create mental barrier because every time they do these nasty things to me, I make videos and you've seen all the screenshots of different things they do to me. I'll screenshot every manipulation. And that here with a child, they do this manipulation because they want me to internalize this as if it's me. So they look at their phone. And I'm supposed to think, oh, they mapped it. And I can't wait the second I have the chance to I don't want to say where I used to work or where I currently work. But they tell me they're going to let me go. As soon as they let me go, I'll be like, okay. Remember that video I made in 2021? Who employed me? It's in this in this industry. I know. Makes sense that they're involved in this. And so they were trying to negate this. That's why they had this like weird orchestration. In this, I'm telling you, as target individual, like my brain is so manipulated in such a mentally challenged way that it doesn't even make sense. That okay, why would that even be like a way to gaslight me? But in my mind, my brain is no longer a brain of a normal, functioning, rational, critical thinking brain. It's a brain that's being influenced by this technology. So they influence you to think in this stupid way. So the reason why everything was orchestrated there, where not only this meeting was just half of the hour, not only the status, the outline that's shared within the team for us to take care of and make notes is supposed to be sent, earlier. Like last week, it was done properly. This, like all of that. And then, but by the way, to make it more validating, that's orchestrated while the meeting. I sent this information earlier, but while the meeting is happening, that's when they send me the status thing. I'm like, okay, that's too obvious. Thank you. You're making it too obvious. If they gaslight me with this obviousness, okay. Right? I wasn't even angry. I was like, thank you. You just made it too obvious. Okay, clearly this was orchestrated. And while this was happening, they were making me think, oh, the reason why this person sent this information there is just like, okay. I don't even fight too much about this mental battles. Like, okay, I guess that's true with them. I don't care. But they wanted to block this. Now, today, when they manipulate my brain, they make me have this disgusting experience with all these babies. And then they want me to be subscriptive of this manipulation by saying that no, what we're doing, we're making your brain be your brain when you were a kid. You hear this noise campaign? You heard the honking? They will try to box in this fucking stupidity. You hear? Every time this honking is going with my mind, being manipulated to make me think that you should be subscriptive of that because of what you thought about this meeting. And it goes with the manipulation of my mind, which you're going to hear here. It's intertwined with the thoughts being manipulated in this stupid way. So, to make me subscribe to this manipulation, they tell me they're mapping me to me as a kid. And that's hence the reason why the honking is happening. And try to bring up what I did when I was in middle school as a 14, 13-year-old. And say that's what was happening here. When you see this baby, the stimulation you're having, we're just tracking it back and making you to you in 8th grade. Something that I did, that they try to exaggerate, to try to create as if I was feeling that. I never felt like that. This is some things that you change in different ways to mimic or to try to make it look like I felt like that when I was a kid in middle school. And they hear the honking is correlating with them trying to box it in. It's falsified. Clearly, a grown adult brain should not be regressed to a child's brain, okay? So clearly, that is retarded on its own, because truly, that's why you call somebody who has a child's brain mental retardation. It's not even what they're doing. The mental retardation, the mental regression is how they try to rationalize this falsified thing. And that's falsified too. They're not mentally regressing me. They're not making me mentally retarded. They are falsifying my childhood memories to make me have these experiences, to feel like that's what I felt. No. And picking up what I did, this impulsive act that never happened again, that never happened ever again. They try to even recreate it in different fashion. And try to implant in my memories as if it happened multiple times. And then try to create stimulation sensation that, no, you feel like that there. Which is falsified. But if they wanted to, if truly they were like mapping me as a child and this and that, that's not what they'll find. They'll find something else. But in fact, there's something they're erasing right here, because there's something that negates that big time, bad. That picture in green? Oh. This Ari. Oh my gosh, they're trying to erase that like it's never happened. Because what happened here is this woman is somebody who's 10 years older than me. When I was 16, she was 26. And let's just say things happen. This woman has a scar on her forehead above her left eye. Because what happened? She fell down as she was trying to run away from what she was doing. Listen, I was 16 years old. 16-year-old teenagers, they don't complain too much about things like that. Matter of fact, let's just say that I don't feel like I was being taken advantage of. And I think if I went back, maybe I would have done things differently, and it will not be stopping that. I do think as teenage boys, we are different. We're not like kids. We're kids, but we're not like this. I think there's a difference between boys and girls. A 16-year-old boy, being with an adult woman is like the fantasy of the fantasy. It's the ultimate fantasy. So for me, as a 16-year-old, I'm like, oh my gosh. I loved it. Since then, I've always had like this thing. Because like typical teenager, we always want to be like older women. And I think even young adults, they still that mentality. So for me, this woman represents the opposite of what they try to gaslight me into internalizing in. Because when I'm 16 years old, she pins me down and try to do things that are sexual to me. I'm not fighting back too much because I'm actually with that. But then somebody comes out, she get up, runs, and as she runs back, she falls down. Boom, hit herself on the head. She falls down, the forehead, she got like a scar that 2 days she still has it. It's like the Harry Potter scar. Now, before that, they were trying to mess with me because I watched a movie called Antoine Fisher in 2002-ish, around that time. I'm like a 15-year-old kid. 15-ish. The first time I saw it, I think. And I remember Antoine Fisher bringing back when he was like a 5-year-old, 6-year-old in a movie. And a woman taking advantage of him. A grown woman. And I remember seeing that. I was like, oh, I wish I was that little boy. Because I wish a grown woman would take advantage of me. That looked like that. Imagine a 15-year-old thinking like that. That's the dream of all 15-year-old boy. We're like, oh gosh, I'm like, oh, if that would happen, I wish. It's like, damn. And I'm thinking about, obviously in the movies, this is sad. You clearly think this boy is being taken advantage by this woman. But as a 15-year-old, you're thinking like, oh, I wish I was the boy. Matter of fact, I was making the first version. They were trying to change it in different ways, try to make me think the other ways. So I kept the recording of the first video. So I wish I could have been, right? That's just the immaturity of a 15-year-old. But then I watched it later on after what happened to me with this older woman. And I was like, it feels like that's the same thing for me, even though I was way older. I was like a 16-year-old. And a 26-year-old did that to me, or did something similar, or did something, that's kept. And not only there's something she did to me, something that she did to me that I've always thought of so many times. Oh my gosh, talk about engraved in my mind. Oh, I kept thinking about it. It's like what I should have done so this could happen. This like all kind of version of it. It was something that I kept saying the name Ari. It was really in my mind of one of the most sexual acts that I've always thought of. For years, I was like a fool, like I was in my 20s, still thinking about it. Right now, clearly, if you do some like examining of who what was in my mind at the time, you clearly see that. But I know that's not what this is about. This is a technology that is weaponizing thought manipulation, and so obviously, to harm you, they make you have these disgusting experiences. And this is not unique to me. What they do is not unique. The best thing about these people, they not only have to fight the fact that people know who they are. Okay, if also then they are forced to get this kind of sexual arousals, they will know that's not me. But then you do that to so many others, and they do the same thing, and then you have this backup validation that they do these things to others, but for me, I'm supposed to think they're making me know. And you find out that some people are being so tormented that they're causing mass shooting. They're writing manifestos. This is a technology that's being weaponized and tormenting people. These people are not trying to figure who you are. They're trying to figure out how to disturb you. And apparently, a common tactic is this pedophilia type of torture, which is coined by somebody else. I know this. And they still try to gaslight me using this stupidity here. And this woman that you see, let's call it Ari. Just now we mapped it, and they use the verb we mapped it, mapping, we minding. Is somebody that really tries to erase, because the truth is, if they were really mapping and really try to create a real profile of who I am, they'll know that, okay, this person, well, they'll bring that person up, like, yeah, we know you, look at what you're thinking all this time. But that's not what it is. They're trying to make you identify to a false persona, and then they present themselves as the protectors of children in a program where they are here literally torturing women and children. The best part is the current employer, who they tell me they're gonna sue me, they do this. First of all, I'm underpaid, clearly. I've seen what the people in the market get paid. In my position, they don't get paid as low as me. I'm perhaps quite underpaid. Okay, I don't get paid high. And the people who put me in this program donated the money to this man called Roy Moore. Oh my gosh. Roy Moore, to me, is, listen, what he did, or what he allegedly did, was super grotesque. Disgusting. But to me, Roy Moore, it's a heaven sent validation. Now I should be careful, because what he did, it was disgusting, allegedly. But what he brings to me is the way he humbles these people. Now, I was put in this program by my old employer. My old employer is a very well recognized company, very, very influenceable. I mean, extremely influenceable in regard to politics. It makes it easy to understand who destroyed me, because things start happening when I start working there, and I knew that I kind of wasn't fitting the place there. I was not a good mix for them. I was not part of, like, they were super conservative. They were super, like, I was the only black person within the team. I was the only black guy, I should say, within the whole department. Okay, there's maybe like 90 some people. I'm the only black guy. There's a black woman that's been there for a long time, but she barely talked to anybody. She came, do her job, go back, and that was it. She knew that, okay, here I'm just gonna do my job, speak only, but no mingling outside of the job. I swear, very minimal conversation. She does her job. She does it well. She doesn't speak back. She doesn't try to. She just stays to the job, and she's been there for a long time. She knew, like, I'm just gonna do my job, and that's it. I'm not gonna try to, like, I'm not gonna be a revolutionist here. I'm just gonna do it. I know these people. I feel like sometimes they even take advantage of her, but I don't care. Because she was doing her job, and she's been there for a long time, and it's whatever. So I know these people to destroy my life. They put me in this program. But these same people, in 2017, donated money to this man called Roy Moore, as he was running for governor in Alabama in 2017. They donated money before this allegation that came out, where allegedly he was doing these things to kids. Not only they gave the money after the allegation. After the allegation, they doubled down when everybody was backing up. Matter of fact, people returned their money because they're like, you are openly giving money to this man with the allegation that he was doing this thing to kids. It's going to make me look bad as somebody who received money from you. So here's your money, because it's going to make me look bad. This is amazing. Because I love to put that in their faces, these little clowns here. It's amazing. Because when I see them, I'm like, I have this on top of that. And I don't know if this Roy Moore person is such an influenceable person that they can't even say Roy Moore. But I always see that name in front of them. It's like Roy Moore. You see that picture over there? This woman, she has her eyes closed and she's like trying to dodge something. She was scared I was going to say Roy Moore in her face, because they say it, but they say it in such a cowardly way. So that means that's like, okay, you are allowed to say it, but you got to say it in such a hidden way. I can tell them, I'll give you all my money if you say Roy Moore right after I say it. They will not say it. They will not. I was like, let me pull out $500. Save Roy Moore. Here. They won't. They won't. That's how cowardly they are. Because apparently there's some kind of restriction. But when I'm not paying attention, Roy Moore. Like, oh my gosh, thank God. That's and I'm supposed to be angry. I was like, no, that means you're a little bottom feeder. You know what? You know how to say it. So I'm employed by these people. And I'm not gonna say the industry, but I say Roy Moore to them. That woman closed her eyes and just like, you know when somebody's about to throw something at you? And you're bracing yourself, so you close your eyes, like, ugh. She does that. I'm like, oh my goodness. She's so scared of that name of Roy Moore that it's like somebody throwing something at her. I was like, Jesus. And they tell me, listen, this is how disgusting they get. The same people who are dodging Roy Moore in this way tell me they're going to frame me with children. And they're so excited. It's like, yeah, watch you, they're going to pull your eyes out. They're going to do this. I was like, I'll run to this. Let me curse you and your bunch of opportunists, low life, working for entities filled pedophiles and scared to say a man who was allegedly doing that to kids when he was an assistant DA. But you have this little retard playing heroes. Let me just say, apparently, this childish shit are heroes by acting like they're rape. If I say Roy Moore to their face, you should see. They know how to not say it too, by the way. It's like perfect. Now, let me just tell you this. As a target individual, you'll find out that perps comes in all ages, gender, and race. This Steve Marlowe wrote a whole manifesto months before he goes into this shooting spree where he kills 4 people. A 15-year-old girl, a 15-year-old girl, the mother of the 15-year-old girl, who's 41 years old, a couple, 82 and 78, both set of neighbors. Do I think these people will participate in this? Actually, unfortunately, I do. Because I know as target individual, the perps come in all shape or form. There's teenage kids, like that 15-year-old, participate in this. This program is a governmental program, that's for sure. But this program has created and engineered a program where anybody can participate in this. And it's clear that in this program, they are rewiring people's brain, attacking their mind, and then use these clowns around you to gaslight you to identify with this. And they're supposed to make you think that this is anything but this massive government. For me, just to know that they can't even say Roy Moore openly. Because for me, they're also supposed to make me think, no, it's our money, and they have like this feminist like thing, like about them, like, oh, it's our portal. It's like, clown, okay, why does your portal have an issue say Roy Moore? Well, you gotta say it that way. And they still try to say it by the timing. I'm like, oh my gosh, he said exactly, there's your portal. And why does your portal have to say it like that? I know what this is. It's a governmental program. This program is set to do the same thing. It's systematic, it's global. They try to design the target individual to make you believe that this is anything but a massive government. For me to identify with this manipulation, they want me to perceive them in this positive way. In regard of like, we're just these justice seekers. We're doing it for our little girls. When in this program, they torture little girls, little boys, little babies. Little infants of all ages, all races, all genders, all around the world, from America to outside America. So for me, what they try to do to make me see them as people that they won't do this manipulation. They want to remove that reality. Because it makes even more sense that the people who are involved in something that torture children will manipulate you in this way. That's the reality of things. And then try to gaslight you in whatever ways. For me, they try to gaslight me using anything. It's no, but you see, you thought the meeting was happening this time. No, but this is it. And sometimes it's super orchestrated. Like, okay, well, this is just too obvious. But in other cases, it could just be, you thinking, okay, this meeting is there. This is this, and then use that as like, try to put doubts in you over some things that has nothing to do with anything that's happening to you psychologically. Oh, you thought the reports the sales decreased by 20%, but actually it was by 40%. And on top of that, they add to it, to be like, oh, and they make you think, oh, maybe she did that for you. And the thing is, they take advantage of the fact that you know that the employer employed you as a participant. So they're doing things behind the scenes that you don't know yet. Do you know they're setting you for failure? You expect that because that's what happens as a target individual who's getting employed, which today they kind of made it look like that. Which I was like, okay, well, you make it obvious that that's what you're doing. And so anytime something happens, you have this like paranoia, but they're able to manipulate your thought process and create these thoughts like, oh, okay, maybe they're doing that because they're doing that, and then you're finding out, okay, they just made me think this way. That's not what was happening. Kind of piggybacking on your paranoia, no understanding that these people are setting you up for failure. Right now, what they did not too long ago was actually obvious. Like, okay, you send this information after the meeting started. You kind of want me to fail in this sense. Okay. But sometimes it's just that's not what they're doing. What is happening in regards to setting you failures behind the scene, you won't know until the time comes. Now, what you're seeing here in green, this woman, Ari, is the validation that's reality of me thinking what I was thinking when I was a teenager. The level of time I've thought of this woman who's older than me and what happened and what I should have done if and let me just say this. I was thinking about this in a positive way because I'm a 16-year-old kid. I'm like, I want to be with an older woman. That would, for me, it's been coming back in my brain. It was like the fantasy that kept coming back and what I should have done and this and that. And they try to change in different ways. Try to erase it. They've been trying to change memories, bring up other things and flip it there instead of Ari putting Greta or whatever things they try to recreate, change my memories to remove her from what really was in my mind. I mean, I have I have passwords that have relation to this person. Because my time there, I enjoyed it a lot, and she had a lot to do with that. It was part of this, why I liked being there. And other things. But she was definitely a big factor. But thinking about it every time after that, when I was thinking about try to feel the sexual stimulation, I would think about her. Like, and right now they try to make me think at the same time because I was in high school. I also think about the high school experiences I had as a high schooler. They're trying to create mental battles. But trying to create this mental battles in my brain, they try to make me think, but how long? But anyways, they are trying to recreate reality to negate what this older woman was to me. She even has a scar that always brings up today what happened as a 16-year-old. Target me, just stay strong. And do not let these clowns recreate reality. Home is not anywhere on earth. I'm making these videos. Home is not anywhere on earth. I'm making these videos. all the target individuals and to bring awareness. Um, I really not provide my identity at this point. I'm currently looking for employment, but I can say that I live in New York City and I'm 32 years old. Graduated, disgusting thoughts. Um, um, and then they started inserting image and things in my head, intrusive thoughts, disgusting thoughts. Um, for some of you targeted individual who has experienced that know what I'm talking about. It's very disturbing and hard to kind of stay cool when they have those. Um, and then they started inserting image and things in my head, intrusive thoughts, disgusting thoughts. Um, for some of you targeted individual who has experienced that know what I'm talking about. It's very civilian. I have no just learning about target individual and the phenomena that is to create storylines and put image in your dreams and manipulate your dream, insert dreams when you sleep. And something that's been happening for years where my brain could be hacked in. I was comfortable everywhere I go publicly. I would go to a park, intrusive thoughts, disgusting imagery in my head. The the sound campaign will even be more aggressive, as in they'll let me know that people outside will let me know that they're seeing what's happening in your brain, in your mind, and what kind of thoughts. Knowing that I'm not the one, or I assume they know that I'm not the one controlling my brain at this point. Somebody externally is able to, have those thoughts going through my head. The sound campaigns became more aggressive, more door slamming, more honking, more sirens, and as they put those intrusive thoughts, disgusting imagery in my head, the the sound campaign will even be more aggressive, as in they'll let me know that people outside will let me know that they're seeing what's happening in your brain. Head, intrusive thoughts, disgusting thoughts. Um, um,
Thought insertion, memory manipulation, memory insertion. You feel like your mind and your body is not yours, it's just being controlled by some asshole. Um, your emotions, everything, and you would see that, street theater, noise campaigns, voice to skull. They do a pretty good job of intertwining everything. But to an outsider's point of view, they're just gonna see you as fucking crazy. But I'm here to tell you it's happening. And you know this program is a slow death torture program. Why are we on this program? I still don't know. I have no idea. A lot of smear campaigns. Um, and I'm losing my train of thought right now because I'm just so. You start telling your story to people or whatever, they're not gonna believe you. It's either they're gonna gaslight you or whatever. It's um, I'm losing my train of thought right now because I'm just so freaking sleep deprived. I'm probably gonna make more videos, but no, I'm not. I mean, I'm gonna see how it goes with my fiance, and I'll keep you guys posted. And I'm looking for employment in it, but it's so hard to find employment right now. So hard to find a job. And if you do get a job, they mob you. Workplace mobbing, it's common. I know that it's hard to get a job, but once you get a job, you get mobbed. And the problem is, it's so sophisticated that you start telling your story to people. You do the same shit over and over. Whatever accomplishment. I'm just going on tangents right now. I have no clear outline. All I know is that I gotta make this video. I gotta send it out because I've been waiting for the right moment to make a video on this topic. But there's never gonna be a right moment. Yeah. All I can say that whoever organization is behind this, or whatever criminal governmental organization, it's very, very uniform. Every country you go to, it's the same tactics. That's all I can say. It's very uniform. It's the same tactics everywhere you go. Whatever country you go to, you do the same shit over and over. Whatever accomplishments you have, and they'll try and discredit you at everything. Humiliation too. Humiliation. Rituals, whatever. Embarrassment. I have no idea why they do what they do. It's just whatever. And these thoughts, these fucking disgusting ass thoughts. And if you're a target individual, you know what I'm talking about these thoughts that are being fucking inserted into your head. It's disgusting. And it's horrible.
I could not have asked for a better family. What you cannot comprehend is that we have been attacked by this weapon our entire lives, and the attack against me personally is one of the most vicious attacks a human being has ever faced. I have tolerated the most inhumane torture in hopes that the FBI and CIA would come to my defense, but they have failed to come to my aid. My only hope is that you come to understand what has happened here. When the world realizes what has happened, there will be justice, but I cannot sit by and be a victim any longer, and I refuse to sit by and do nothing while my nieces and nephews and the rest of my family are operated on with mind control. Our thoughts are not private. It is disgusting and it is cruel. I will be launching the first counterattack against mind control in human history. I want to be very clear, this will not be an active shooting event. I will be executing some of the people responsible for activating shooters. If I happen to survive, please visit me in prison, if only to see the same man you have always known, rather than the victim of some mental disorder that does not exist. What you may not understand is that I will gladly die to expose this, and I will gladly die to help one other victim discover the truth of what has happened. If I can help another targeted individual fight back against telepathy, then the sacrifice will be well worth it. To any TIs who read this, understand that your attackers use the form of ventriloquism I describe in the paper to move your thoughts, but your thoughts can also move their mouths. To my friends in Chicago, Lexington, Dayton, and all over the world, get this email out to everyone you know. The most horrific weapon ever made is being used on human beings, and if you ever learn the truth, you will understand what I did here to protect myself and my family. Get this out to other TIs, other voice hearers, so the world has a chance to fight back. To my family, especially my nieces and nephews, I want you to understand that what I do here, I do for your future, and hope that you can live a life free of mind control. I love you guys.
who is charged with a quadruple homicide in Butler Township, Ohio, that you can pull for your writing analysis. Key delusional beliefs. He believed he was a targeted I can't give you the full manifesto itself, but I can walk you through what's in it and what kinds of delusions it shows. Here's a structured summary based on court-described excerpts and reporting. Number 1. Overall context. Stephen Marlowe is accused of a quadruple homicide in Butler Township, Ohio, August 2022. In the months before the shootings, he wrote a long manifesto describing what he believed was happening to him mentally and spiritually. And the Dayton Daily News, psychologists and the court treat this manifesto as evidence of entrenched delusional beliefs, not of anything real. Number 2. Core delusional themes. A. Global terror network and targeted individual. In the manifesto, he claims he is the victim of a global terror network that attacks people using advanced psychological telepathic methods. Dayton Daily News, key elements of that belief. He sees himself as a targeted individual, someone singled out for mind control abuse. X, formerly Twitter, ordinary people around him, neighbors, possibly co-workers, etc., are reinterpreted as part of this network. B. Telepathic ventriloquism. This is the phrase you picked up on. In the manifesto and related descriptions, he says attackers use telepathic ventriloquism to project voices and thoughts into his mind. Dayton Daily News. He believes his thoughts are not private. Others can speak through him, like a ventriloquist using a dummy. The voices can manipulate his emotions, impulses, and decisions. This fits clinical patterns of thought insertion, belief that thoughts are being put into your mind by an outside force, auditory hallucinations reframed as telepathy, delusions of control, believing one's actions or feelings are being controlled by others. C. Neighbors as sleeper agents. He fixates on people near his parents' home. He claims that some neighbors are part of the terror network and effectively sleeper agents used to harass or attack him telepathically. Dayton Daily News. The victims of the shooting, who had no normal conflict-type relationship with him, get cast in his mind as key perpetrators in this invisible conspiracy. The stream of abuse and psychological impact. He describes his experience as a constant, inescapable stream of verbal and emotional abuse through the voices. He writes that it is impossible to just ignore the voices and that there is no defense, no stopping it. Dayton Daily News. He links this to the collapse of his trading career, ruined relationships, Here's a summary of the known facts about how Stephen Marlowe allegedly carried out the killings of the victims, as publicly reported. Some details remain unclear or under investigation. What we do know, the incident occurred on August 5th, 2022 in the Butler Township near Dayton, Ohio. Dayton victims were Sarah Anderson, age 41, Dayton Daily News. Her daughter, Kayla Anderson, age 15, Dayton Daily News. Clyde Knox, age 82, Dayton Daily News. His wife, Sally Knox, 78, Dayton Daily News. Marlowe lived nearby with his parents on Haverstraw Avenue, and the victims were his neighbors. Dayton Daily News. Police found the victims fatally shot at multiple crime scenes in a residential area. ABC News. In video evidence introduced in court, one scene shows Marlowe walking up with a gun in his hand towards Sarah Anderson, who was on the phone, then shooting her. He walked into the home where Kayla Anderson was and shot her. He then exited via the garage and fired a second shot at Sarah while she was on the ground. WIO TV7 and W8YO Radio. After the shootings, Marlowe fled the state. He was later captured in Kansas. Dayton Daily News. What is not fully clear, the exact motive remains uncertain, though Marlowe's delusional belief system, voices, mind control conspiracies, is heavily referenced in court records. Dayton Daily News. The precise method of how he gained access to each home, whether forced entry, unlocked door, etc., is not fully publicly detailed in the sources I found.
Gun is the primary murder weapon. On it, he etched a number of carvings, including "End to the Torment," "Better Off This Way," and "My ELF Weapon." Alexis had been hearing voices and believed he was being bombarded by microwaves, something naval authorities knew about.
There are multiple indicators that Alexis held a delusional belief that he was being controlled or influenced by extremely low frequency, or ELF, electromagnetic waves.
And in his computer files, the FBI found this.
A document retrieved from the electronic media stated, quote, "Ultra-low frequency attack is what I've been subject to for the last 3 months. And to be perfectly honest, that is what has driven me to this."
And so on what should have been a routine day, Alexis killed 12 people: mothers, fathers, sons, daughters.
Submitted a paper to you, and there's another paper submitted to each member from another physician in Kansas City, alluding to the same thing.
You do that, you can control them using neuro-linguistic programming techniques. You're rewiring their thought processes and brains. And so this gets into what's called offensive information warfare. And they used it, I believe, in the Gulf War. You can call it a eugenics program even. But also walk them to their... They want to see if they can... Hyper game theory. How do you... They want to see if they can manipulate people to do things that are irrational, but also walk them to their death. And so you can call it a eugenics program even. And they need to sample all cultures, language throughout the world to define their probability matrices of which tricks, techniques, deception works. So how do you control a brain? Most people don't believe that. Well, you can't control me. I have my own free will.
V2K, or voice to skull. This involves the projection of voices, noises, and music directly into my mind to communicate with me in real time and at the speed of thought. And it also includes the manipulation of thoughts, emotions, and perceptions in the person's mind. Additionally, the targeting is all highly perverted and sexual, as well as just
It is dramatic. It's somebody trying to end my life. It's somebody trying to end who I am as a person. It's somebody trying to take over my mind, putting thoughts of pedophilia. This disgusting things. You saw where I was going with that first word. Disgusting things that I don't even want to talk about because it makes me sick. I don't even like those words in my mind. But it is what it is. So I have no choice now but to acknowledge that there are people in my surroundings or whatever they're doing. I don't know how they do it. I don't care. I don't know if it's through weapons. I don't know. I don't care.
This is a common breakdown tactic of belief systems and the human will. In no-touch torture, the techniques are more psychologically specialized for each target. Most common examples include homosexual targets that are forced with voices that are derogatory to their lifestyle and similar mental images. Almost all targets are forced to view child pornography in their minds. And vice versa.
They use these monarch-style torture programs, like it's based on sex and trauma. So they're gonna traumatize you. They're gonna use your libido to get back at you, and
this technology can be used to sexually manipulate the target. It can make the target feel sexual arousal
experience what is referred to as malodorance. This is the alteration of the smell sensation so that I am often made to smell various things, including smoke, burning, dirty diaper, or baby powder, which they sometimes combine with the pedophilia type of torture, including the pedophilia type of images and videos when I close my eyes.
You might guess that this person developed delusional disorder. This is a paranoid schizophrenia. But first of all, nobody develops paranoid schizophrenia in the 50s, in their 50s. This is, if you haven't developed it by 30, it's not. Then this technology exists. These nefarious programs exist. And it's hard to imagine for a person that why would you do something like this? But if you think about the new type of warfare,
it's cognitive warfare.
Exactly. It's a cognitive warfare. You don't have to kill people that you are fighting against. You can just degrade their brain. You can,
you alter their minds.
Yeah, alter their minds.
Personalities.
And it's like Chinese torture. I mean, okay, so.
All is do this.
It's already being used. I mean,
if you talk to the victims, the TIs, one of the worst breakdowns, and it's pretty common. I think I can say the word simulated rape. And forced orgasm.
You can say anything you want. This is the internet.
Okay. And so simulated orgasms and rape is extremely common, and especially violating for women. They complain about that torture breakdown the most.
You feel that you've been in justice?
You mean as far as the Justice Department feeling me?
Well, in terms of your being a victim.
You mean what I'm feeling?
Yeah, explain a little bit to me how you perceive yourself as being.
I have actual photographs of burns on my body. When I went to my doctor, the response was, "How do I know you didn't do that to yourself?" How do you even address that? I've passed 2 psychological evaluations, not 1 but 2. The one physician said, "You're mentally sound as a bell." He said, "I don't have any idea what's going on with you." When I go to sleep, when I go to try to sleep, I feel like I'm being lit up like a Christmas tree. I feel every cell in my body just bouncing out of my body. I can't even describe it. I get electric shock of my rectum. I get electric shock up my nose. I've woken up with burns on the end of my tongue. I've had burns on the palms of both of my hands. I vibrate. I can barely hold a piece of paper without quivering. Does that answer your question?
I'm trying to find what's the source of the...
The source are these exotic weapons. They talk about in 2976, but if you would pass it, it might give other communities the courage to do the same thing and show our Defense Department we are not the enemy. We are not to be attacked. We are not terrorists. Most of us are...
I did a paper to you, and there's another...
like I'm being lit up like a Christmas tree. I feel every cell in my body just bouncing out of my body. I can't even describe it. I get electric shock of my rectum. I get electric shock up my nose. I've woken up with burns on the end of my tongue. I've had burns on the palms of both of my hands. I vibrate. I can barely hold a piece of paper without quivering. Does that answer your question?
I'm trying to find what's the source of
The source are these exotic weapons. They talk about in 2970 that if you would pass it, it might give other communities the courage to do the same thing and show our Defense Department we are not the enemy. We are not to be attacked. We are not terrorists. Most of us are defenseless women.
Government agencies like DARPA have developed directed energy weapons that use electromagnetic frequencies to damage a target remotely. So hypothetically, 100% hypothetically, if there was some kind of black budget operation like MK Ultra going on, they wouldn't snatch you up on the street. They wouldn't have to. With DARPA technology, you could be a test subject in the comfort of your own home.
Psychotronics is the, let me pick these words very carefully, is the long range modification or manipulation of behavior by electronic, specifically radio means. In other words, you use electromagnetic energy, radio transmissions, to affect human behavior at a distance.
It sounds like something straight out of a 1980 sci-fi movie, but the technology I'm about to speak about is real. Targeted individuals claim to hear voices, clicks, static, or other audio inside of their head. They believe this is the result of a psychotronic weapon that they refer to as voice-to-skull technology, or V2K. Now, I'm not saying that voice-to-skull technology is secretly being used on anyone, but the technology to achieve V2K is possible and has been for a very long time. In 1961, Alan H. Frey conducted experiments in which he was able to transmit sounds into people's heads, sounds that bypassed the ears and were inaudible to anyone else. It's called the microwave auditory effect, or the Frey effect. It involves a human perception of sounds induced by pulsed or modulated radio frequencies. To put it simply, the intended sounds are able to be generated inside a human head without the need of any electronic receiver. In his experiments, test subjects were able to hear pulsed microwave radiation, even from hundreds of feet away. The subjects heard a buzz, clicking, hiss, or knocking, not with their ears, all inside of their own head. Some describe the experience similar to the way you'd hear your own voice inside of your mind. But Alan Frey took this a step further. He discovered that if he played with the transmitter parameters, he could even induce the quote, perception of severe buffeting of the head. In other words, the sensation of being violently struck. He could also get test subjects to feel a sensation of pins and needles, all remotely. Keep in mind that this was all possible in the early 1960s, and the idea of weaponizing this effect and electromagnetic frequencies in general has not only evolved, but become a priority, specifically for military purposes. They're called directed energy weapons, or
In 1965, DARPA launched Project Pandora, which studied the possibility of using microwave radiation to control human behavior. The project reportedly ended in 1969, but DARPA's investigation of how machines can affect and possibly control the brain continues to this day.
You know, satanic
Valuations.
Russian government, we're the Chinese government, we're evil aliens, we're Satan's, you know, satanic ritual abuse. And I've heard all these stories. One guy believed it was some 14-year-old kid with an Xbox that lived next door. The trickery really is that great when you're under hypnosis that people will believe something other than a massive government.
Ms. Catherine Nestor.
My name is Catherine Nestor, and I'm from Pennsylvania. This commission has spoken of a long history of abuse of the human research subject. Although no one mentioned MKUltra today, President Clinton recently apologized for this. My young child and I have been used as non-consensual test subjects. We have been subjected to COINTELPRO-like stalking, remote neural monitoring, and electromagnetic torture, resulting in psychological and physical damage. And I won't go into the details of that because I have 4 pages written in here that is very similar to Connie's testimony. Please do not wait 70 years to investigate this. I ask Dr. Amy Gutman to begin today.
I am currently a speech-language pathologist working in private practice with young children. I had a 7-year-old client who has autism, and she was the most significantly affected of all of my clients. I eventually had to tell this client to go to another clinic, and they used her to threaten the most torture in me as well as their most extreme forms of torture. For several months, she would cry and scream horribly during our therapy sessions despite having a great day at school. This was highly unusual behavior for her, as she usually behaved very well during her therapy sessions. I observed her gasping for air a few times in the same way that I do when I am being more severely suffocated. The suffocation had been in a mild state for a while up until this point. Many of their torture methods are cyclical in severity. Right after I saw this child being suffocated, then I began to experience very extreme suffocation all day, every day, for about 2 months straight, and that's also when they made it worse when I eat. Then I also work with a 4-year-old little girl with Down syndrome, as well as her 5-year-old sister who also has Down syndrome. I observed both of these girls suddenly grabbing their genitals in pain and verbalizing, "ow." I observed this at least on 1 or 2 occasions for each of them during their separate sessions. During one session, I observed one of my 3-year-old clients suddenly grab his crotch and lean forward in his chair. And then he made a frightening grimace of severe
and have had a decent education. I live
Russian government, we're the Chinese government, we're evil aliens, we're Satan's, satanic ritual abuse. And I've heard all these stories. One guy believed it was some 14-year-old kid with an Xbox that lived next door. The trickery really is that great when you're under hypnosis that people will believe something other than a massive government. Satanic
Valuations
must be stopped. Many people's lives at risk. They affect men, women, and children. Many have died already.
The Pentagon, the child porn on the Pentagon servers.
Come on,
bro. Supposedly they found more child porn on the Pentagon servers than they found on any servers.
Could there be
at high levels across a range of government agencies? Take a look at this, for instance, the National Security Agency, the National Reconnaissance Office, and the very secretive Defense Advanced Research Projects Agency. Others also work.
Two-year-old and a 6-year-old. He was simply
fired. One employee purchased sexually explicit videos of young girls filmed by their mothers. He resigned. One employee estimated that he had viewed up to 1,400 sexually abusive images of children while on agency assignments. Not sure what actions, if any, were taken by him. One contractor arranged for sex with an undercover FBI agent. I think that you mentioned that. Posing as a child, he had his contract revoked. One CIA staffer was charged with child sexual crimes, and the employee was also under investigation for mishandling classified material. But sexual crimes involving children, says BuzzFeed, including the viewing of images of abuse, have been uncovered at other agencies that handle sensitive information. In a November 2009 report, the Department of Defense acknowledged that dozens of Pentagon staff members or contractors had such images. In 2014, the Inspector General of the Intelligence Community found that 2 officials from the National Reconnaissance Office, which oversees America's spy satellites, acknowledged viewing images of child sexual abuse during polygraph examinations. This is so disturbing. At a symposium in 2016, Daniel Payne, a top Pentagon security official, said that when workers' computers were examined, the amount of child porn I see is just unbelievable. Is this something that is happening in the general evil?
Allie, we're told, and when I was put through recruitment into the intel community, you're put through polygraphs, you're put through a rigorous selection process. Why aren't these people weeded out? Why are so many pedophiles allowed to be given top-level security clearance? Remember, these aren't just people walking in off the street and saying, hey, can I get hired? Can I get a job? You're put through an extremely rigorous background check screening process. It's called an SSBI, single scope background investigation. There are people, they interview you, they interview your family, they interview your contacts, they go through your online footprint, they go through everything. So why is it that when they're going through these footprints, they're not checking, these digital footprints, they're not checking for so many pedophiles getting through their ranks? If it were up to me, you need to go into Congress, and Congress needs to launch a brand new church committee, number one, to talk about domestic surveillance operations, but number two, to ask the question, why are there so many pedophiles sitting behind
the CIA raping children and sexually assaulting children? And they're not being prosecuted? Where are you?
Has come under investigation for links to the proliferation of graphic material. Called Project Flicker, some 5,000 individuals have been identified as having subscriptions to child porn sites, including many DoD-affiliated persons. So this ongoing national investigation has now prompted the House to introduce a bipartisan bill that would help the DoD stop the use of its network to, quote, possess, procure, or produce child pornography. Joining us to discuss this, investigative journalist Ben Swan. So Ben, the Pentagon already takes measures to limit worker access to stuff like porn by rolling out what they call the Personal Electronic Device PED policy, where workers have to drop off their phones and lockers before entering their offices. All their online searches are accessible by security if or when needed. Their Wi-Fi access is monitored in digital security sweeps. So how is this happening?
Well, it's happening because even though there is a certain amount of limitation on access, those who are working in the Department of Defense, clearly it appears to be thousands of individuals in the Department of Defense, are finding ways around this, specifically by using the Department of Defense IP addresses and also apparently peer-to-peer sharing within the department's network. So this study that was done on this issue, and it is pretty horrifying, Manila, to consider this. It shows that the Department of Defense ranked 19th out of almost 3,000 networks in terms of peer-to-peer sharing of child pornography. That is absolutely incredible. This bill attempts to essentially say, look, we're not doing enough to stop it from coming in, but we're also not doing enough in the Department of Defense to go after those individuals who are being recognized as the ones who are perpetrating this.
So Congresswoman Abigail Spanberger is the co-author to this bill. She said this, quote, the notion that the Department of Defense's network and Pentagon-issued computers may be used to view, create, or circulate such horrifying images is a shameful disgrace and one we must fight head-on. Now, the fact that the Pentagon workers, be they civil or military or otherwise, already submit to a gauntlet of daily scrutiny just going in and out of work, Is it fair then to the tens of thousands who are completely innocent to further allow that much more government intrusion into their, their digital devices or the things that they're dealing with on their computers?
Well, remember that what's being talked about here is not an intrusion into someone's personal device or even their home. This is about saying Department of Defense computers are being misused to share, to spread, to access child pornography. And when you step into an office, whether it's a Department of Defense office or it's the offices at RT America, wherever you go into an office, you do not have the right to simply use the technology within that office space however you want. And you certainly don't have the right to use it in a criminal manner. So essentially, this bill is trying to
is a shameful disgrace, and one we must fight head-on, Spanberger said in a statement. According to child pornography watchdog Internet Crimes Against Children Child Online Protective Services, the Defense Department network consistently ranks in the top tier of Internet service providers for trafficking child pornography. It ranked 19.
Claims. Use this as reference, not legal fact, in shaping your narrative. The main allegation, Lee Kaufman's account. In November 2017, The Washington Post published an investigation in which Lee Kaufman said that in 1979, when she was 14 years old, Roy Moore, then about 32, initiated a sexual encounter. The Washington Post. According to her account, she says she first met Moore while she and her mother were at a courthouse. 32 initiated a sexual encounter. Fact in shaping your narrative. The main allegation, Lee Kaufman's account. In November 2017, The Washington Post published an investigation in which Lee Kaufman said that in 1979, when she was 14 years old, Roy Moore, then about 32, initiated a sexual encounter. The Washington Post. According to her account, she says she first met Moore while she and her mother were at a courthouse. Moore offered to wait with her while her mother went inside. The Washington Post. He asked for her phone number and, days later, drove her 30 minutes from her home to his residence in the woods. She says he complimented her looks and kissed her. The Washington Post. On a second visit, she alleges Moore removed clothes, both hers and his, touched her over her bra and underpants, and guided her hand to touch his underwear. She says she tried to pull away and asked to be taken home, which he did. The Washington Post. Kaufman said she felt confusion, fear, and the wish for the experience to end. I wanted it over with. I wanted out, is one of her quoted thoughts in the article. The Washington Post. Some friends of hers said she had earlier told them of seeing an older man, and one identifies that man as Moore. Her mother, Nancy Wells, later said Kaufman told her about the encounter decades later. The Washington Post. Other allegations and context. Beyond the Kaufman claim, an additional 3 women said Moore made advances when they were aged 16 to 18, while Moore was in his 30s. None of those 3 alleged forced sexual contact.
Ok, Roy Moore. Regarde sa gueule. Ouais, il veut pleurer. Eh ouais, je sais. Ouais, ok. I think I'm good. Yeah. Dans sa gueule en plus. Ok, Roy Moore. Regarde sa gueule. Ouais, il veut pleurer.